Hello, hello. How are you, my friend? It is week 4 of From Stress to Satisfied. We are on the halfway mark, or will be by the end of this session. And I think it's an absolutely wonderful time to be doing the work that we're going to do today, because hopefully, as you've worked through the first 3 weeks, you've started to get an idea of where you are right now in your life, what really triggers you, what stresses you out, and also reminding yourself and actually seeing that there are good things going on as well. There's good things going on in your life, and those as we looked at in week 3 last week, we looked at how those both the draining feelings and the renewing feelings have an impact on our life and have an impact on our stress, our physiology, our cortisol levels, our feel good levels, our aging, all of that. And hopefully you're starting to build yourself a better picture of what is possible for you and carrying on with that practice. So hopefully you're starting to create your rhythm now, as we've talked about quite a few times now, creating your own rhythm. How is your practice going? What do you need to check in with right now? And we'll kick off, before we do our recap as usual, we will kick off with a little bit of quick coherence, which was the in sync tool, getting ourselves in sync with ourselves quickly, that we talked about last time. So I'm going to, let me just share the screen with you, if it'll let me. Okay. So here we are. And I'm also going to turn myself off for now. Okay, let's leave it for now. So we're on week 4 and we are decluttering this week. I'll talk about a little bit of that. Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to get in sync before we start. So drop everything that you've got going on. If maybe you're listening to this on audio, or maybe you're listening to this as you're walking around doing something, see if you can just pause. I mean, you can carry on as you are, but let's see if we can pause for a moment and start. But, so these techniques are designed to be used in the moment. So if you are walking around or listening to this on audio as you're doing something, that's fine. For now, for the rest of the session, we will need to take some space for ourselves. So just start with heart-focused breathing, as you know, inhaling and exhaling deeply and evenly and comfortably through the area of the heart. Deep, comfortable, even breathing. Inhaling and exhaling as if your breath were coming in and out from the area of the heart. And I want you to add in one of your renewing feelings, one of your feel-good feelings, something from the right-hand side of your emotional landscape. Something that's making you smile, making you feel relaxed. So heart-focused breathing and adding in that feel-good feeling. Deep, comfortable, even breathing. Anytime you get distracted, if your feelings take you elsewhere, your feel-good feelings take you somewhere else, bring it back to the heart and restart. Heart-focused breathing. And adding in that feel-good love or care, compassion, appreciation, happiness, joy. Just bring in those moments and keep that rhythm going. And you can do this with your eyes open and or your eyes closed, your hand on your heart if you wish. Always bringing it back to the heart whenever you need to, at any distraction point. And when you're ready, bring yourself back to the room. We'll get started. So I'm going to hide the video for now and come back to our work for today. So, recap, how have you been? How has it been to notice your emotional landscape and where you spend most of your time? How has it been? Are you noticing that you're spending more time on the left side than you thought? Are you noticing that you're spending less time on the left-hand side than you thought of the emotional landscape? Because that's the thing, we can assume that we're in a pretty bad place when actually there are lots and lots of pockets of light, of happiness, of appreciation that we sometimes just don't see or remember because we can get swamped by the feelings and emotions from the left-hand side that are pulling in that cortisol, releasing more and more of that cortisol into our body. So how was it for you? And however it was, isn't that brilliant data? This is not about giving yourself a hard time about where you are or where you aren't or where you should be. You shouldn't be anywhere except here right now. So isn't that brilliant information that you've got with you to say, okay, this is where I'm spending most of my time. I can shift out of this using Quick Coherence, the InSync tool. I can do this quickly. I can do it in 2 minutes. And so you can keep telling yourself that and keep practicing that. Even if you forget to do it, it's always about bringing it back. But what can kind of get in the way as we start to learn more and more about this work and create more awareness around ourselves is that sometimes we still feel heavy. We're like doing our best. We're doing our heart focused breathing. We're doing our positive mindset work. We're kind of waking up trying to feel better, even if or at least acknowledge that we're okay if we're not feeling so great, because it's okay to feel not okay. But actually it just still feels heavy. And that can be because sometimes we hold on to, we've got emotional baggage or we've got mental baggage that we just haven't let go of yet. And that can be for various reasons. We feel like we still want to hold on to it. It could just be habit. It could be that we've dealt with, whether it's a childhood situation. So I've worked with quite a few people where we've talked about, well, they've been to therapy or they've been to, they've had some sort of intervention before. They've worked on stuff and actually they still feel heavy because the emotional energies around that situation are still there. We're still holding on to them and that's not our fault. But what we can do is we can make space by letting go of that, the old, unuseful, sometimes harmful baggage that we've been carrying around, that clutter that we've been carrying around that's making us feel heavy or full up or stuck or slow, or sort of makes us feel incapable of being able to create something new for ourselves or different for ourselves. We can let go of that and we can make space that will allow physical, mental, and emotional relief. Honestly, this technique really does help all of those areas. It really does. This is one of the tools that I have used many times, as I've said. And to begin with, I would say that you do need to give yourself some, time to do this. So in this session, okay, because you might be pausing this to write, we're doing a fair amount of writing, because you might be pausing this and you can take however long you want. So it might take you an hour, it might take you a little bit over, it might take you 45 minutes, it doesn't matter. But then if you choose to use this tool going forward, then you'll notice that you'll either take the best bits from it and use those, or it will just get quicker and quicker for you. So I can tend to do this technique in 5 to 10 minutes now, because I'm used to using this, and I can also notice when I need to this technique of decluttering something mental or emotional that I'm holding on to, that's just excess baggage that's not needed anymore. I can let go of it. I've kind of become used to that, and that's taken me about 3 years, but that's because I've self-taught. I've done that work. So I'm guiding you through this. You have me for support. I want you to know that this is a safe space to do this work. I want you to prepare for yourself by trying to find some quiet space if you can to do this. And maybe giving yourself some time at the end of the evening. If you're doing this in the evening or on a weekend, then, having some self-care for yourself afterwards, because this can be quite deep work. So, and again, anytime you can check in with me about this by email, or you can also, if you feel like you need to seek further support, then remember that you've always got your health professionals to go to as well, your GP, if you feel like you can't cope with this. Just a gentle reminder there. So I love this quote, and I just felt like it was really relevant to the work we're going to do today. These mountains you are carrying, you are only supposed to climb. Sometimes we can end up bearing the burden of things that are either not ours, or as a result of maybe guilt or responsibility, or it's not ours. And they become mountains that we carry that become really heavy. But it's time to put those down now, okay? You don't need to carry those mountains anymore. So let's have a quick, I think we're okay with the week 3 recap around your emotional weather, around using your renewing feelings. And remember, that's your own medicine. Like, you're creating your own medicine, and it's free. You might have paid for this course, but you're now creating your own medicine, and that's free, and you've got that for life. So what we're going to do with this work, we're going to declutter. We're going to take any old emotional energies or behaviors or patterns. If it's you're having the same lifelong issue with the same family member or work situation, or you never ever feel good enough, or you find that every relationship repeats itself in the same way. Maybe it's your romantic relationships, and these are stored behaviors. They're not our fault, but we can choose to let go of them now. We become comfortable in them. And as I said, that sometimes this can be the reason why we find it difficult to make changes. All we're doing is we're creating space. The same way that if you've ever have you ever found that when you start to do physical decluttering or tidying up in your home or in the garage or wherever it might be, or in your car, that you feel lighter as a result of it? Doesn't it feel like a relief when you've cleaned it out? And I found from both myself is that when I'm letting go of stuff, just an element of physically clearing up something also really helps. Or I've found that clients who've done this work have said, and I've actually worked with people who are hoarders who have done this work, and then they've gone home and started clearing stuff out, which they would never have done before. So this really is powerful work, I promise you. So some of the things that we can hold on to, as I said already, is that overcare. The kind of, we're over it, but we don't let go. And we don't know how to let go of it yet. We think we want to, or we think we have, but it's still in the back of our minds, or we're holding it in our body somewhere. Sometimes somatically, it can show up in our body as an ache or a pain somewhere. So that's why it can have a physical impact. It can have a mental impact where we're just going round and round in circles and trying to find ways to fix our life, or fix our relationship, or fix our work, or trying to change the outcome of a situation, but not quite knowing how to. And we're just going to create that space now. So let's do the work. Let's get into it. And Let's start. So again, you can pause this at any time. You can come back to it. You can keep this recording. Use your workbook if you want. Your workbook has a page where it has all of the steps together. I'm gonna break them down for you and go through them one by one, and we're gonna do this work together. So you choose how you want to do this now and going forward. So let's prepare for this letting go. Make sure you've got, some quiet, as I said. Make sure you've got something to write on and write with. And take the time, and as I said afterwards, take the time for some rest and some self-love as and when you can, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's, you've got kids to go back to, or you've got other responsibilities that mean that you can only do this in this time. Allow yourself 5 minutes of rest at least, or schedule in something for the weekend. So grab your piece of paper or your journal or your workbook, and whether you're typing it online, there's some PDF, the PDF's got space in it to type directly into, or your pen or pencil, and I want you to write down what your issue is. Most likely you will know. It's something that comes up regularly for you. Most likely a person will pop into your head, or how you deal with certain situations, or it's an event that's happened that you can't get out of your mind, you can't get out of your head, and it just comes up again and again. And I would ask you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the impact it's had on your life. And I know people who have kind of used this, we've worked on sort of either childhood trauma stuff, or, divorces, splitting up with long-term partners. Those would be quite high impact. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but I'm saying that if they're kind of like 5 or above, or 6 or above, then just be aware that you're doing some heavy work. You are in a safe environment. Be kind to yourself, no matter how you do this work. So I would say, if you can, for the first time, is take something maybe a bit lighter if you can, but the choice is absolutely yours. So, if there's something repeatedly coming up for you, write down that issue and let's work on it. And then I want you to take some space, an empty page, and I want you to write down everything that you feel, believe, see, have done, have said about this situation or this person or event, and write it all down. Your feelings, the people, the places, the situations, what words come to mind. Even if they don't make sense, write them down. And what's coming up in your body as you're writing this? Is something starting to ache? Is it a specific area? Write that down. Is your tummy starting to churn? Is your heart starting to beat really fast? Is your throat closing up? Whatever it might be coming up, write it down. Maybe it's bringing you to tears. That's all okay. I always say that tears are sometimes beyond words. Sometimes we don't have the capacity, or we actually don't have the words to explain how we feel or the emotion that's inside us. Let those tears be there. Write that down too. Maybe you're feeling resistant to doing this. And I say that because sometimes we have had this stuff with us for so long that we don't really want it to move away from us. Who would we be without this? So if there's resistance there, notice that too, and write it down. Write down, I'm feeling resistant. Or, these can all be like one word things, or they could even be shapes or patterns or colors. This is your space. Write it down, or draw, or express however you feel that you need to in this situation. Okay? And you might want to pause it here at this point if you need more time. So I'll give you another minute or so to do this. Just going to make sure. Just carry on and keep writing. Just going to make sure we're still recording. So feel free to pause this if you need to, and keep writing. And also, if, as we go through this exercise in each step, if there's anything else that comes up, you can keep adding to it. This is not an exhaustive list. It doesn't mean anything if you don't have anything on here. Write it all down, especially stuff that you think, well, what's that got to do with this? It's okay. You're just getting it out of your head and onto that piece of paper. We don't need to know the why. So the next step is now to lay down your pen and paper, lay down anything that you might be holding, step away from all of that, which may no doubt be actually activating your stress, which you're thinking is not useful, but we're dealing with it. So we're going to do some solar plexus breathing, which is slightly different to heart focus breathing, in that when you breathe in through the heart. And when you breathe out, you're breathing out through your solar plexus, which is that kind of area, as you probably know, is that area just under your rib cage, between your rib cage and where your stomach starts, or where your belly button starts, that kind of central core area, where I imagine my core to be. So start to breathe the same in terms of inhaling and exhaling deeply and comfortably, deeper than you normally would if you can. Just keeping it comfortable though. Always keep your breathing comfortable. Don't want you to stress out about your breathing. Breathe in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. And then activate a feel-good, renewing feeling. You know, one of those care or love or appreciation moments. Stay with those. And stay with the solar plexus breathing. In through the heart, out through the solar plexus. Keep this going. I'm going to time how long you need to do this for, so don't worry about that. In through the heart, out through the solar plexus, and staying with that care, love, or appreciation for someone or something in your life. Deep, comfortable, even breathing in through the heart, out through the solar plexus, and staying with that care, love, appreciation for someone or something in your life. And as you're in this place, stay in this place, but we're going to ask ourselves a question. If this was someone else's issue, what would you tell them? If this was someone else's issue, what advice would you give? And stay with that heart and solar plexus breathing and notice what comes up, if anything. Be okay for there not to be anything. You may have all you need to know for now. If there is something, then feel free to write that down. And maybe ask yourself, sometimes what can come up is we're so ingrained in this issue of arguing with someone, or having been so hurt by somebody else in our lives, or having been through an illness that really traumatized us, or an event that really traumatized us, that the advice doesn't actually feel so real. It feels like more of what you were writing before. That's okay too. Maybe there's anger coming out. Maybe there's resentment. It doesn't matter what that is. You can add it to your list. Trust yourself. You decide. Does that feel like real advice, or does it just feel like something I want to add back onto my list? Either one of those is absolutely okay. Stay with the heart and solar plexus breathing. And then we're going to just take a moment. We're going to actually do the work of, maybe this feels icky right now. I want you to take a look at your list, and I want you to review it and really feel what's going on there. And that might sound productive, like, Amarjot, why are you making us actually, do this horrible stuff? But there's a reason. We're going to let go of that now. We don't need that stuff before. The fact that you've put all of that down on paper means that you're still holding it somewhere, whether it's in your mind, whether it's in your body somewhere, whether it's, wherever it might be, it's still there in you and you don't need it anymore. And maybe a lot of that's come out just because you've written it. But what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of hopefully any other deeper elements of it. So take your list, review it, and then I want to remind you the power of the heart, why we're doing this work. And if you'll remember from the previous weeks, you'll remember that the heart is very powerful. It can handle a lot more than we think it can. So we're going to actually use it. And I just want to caveat this by saying some people find it difficult to do this bit because it feels like you're putting in something negative or draining into your body. But the fact is that stuff is already in you. This stuff, you're still holding this already. You're not doing anything negative or counterproductive because of this. But if you feel like then as we do the works, another technique comes up or another way of managing it through your heart comes up, then go with that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the information that you've got on your piece of paper. Just notice it, look at it. And I want you to actually take that stuff and soak it into your heart. So I want you to imagine all of that soaking into your heart and dissolving away. And it could be piece by piece. It could be word by word. It could just be a bout of energy flowing through. There's no right or wrong in this. It's how you imagine, because obviously it's not doing it, but you're imagining it soaking into the heart. So you're taking all of that stuff, all of the emotions, the feelings, the pains, the aches, the people, the places, whatever you might have written down. There might be guilt there. There might be resentment. There might be anger. There might be duty, burden, responsibility, fear, swear words, hatred. It doesn't matter. And also nobody's going to see this unless you want them to. So soak it into your heart. And keep going until you imagine it dissolving away. So you just imagine and just keep going. And you're just imagining it dissolving away. Your heart's doing the work. Your heart can handle this. I promise you your heart can handle this. And again, you might feel resistance come up. If I let go of this, what's going to happen? If I let go of this, who am I going to be? It's okay. Trust that. Soak the resistance into your heart too. Soak it into your heart and imagine it dissolving away and take your time. If it feels hard, soak that in as well. If you feel the tears come up, soak it in as well. If you feel an ache, something starting to pain you in your body or feel discomfort in your body somewhere, imagine that soaking into your heart as well and just dissolving away. Trust that your heart can do this work for you. You might feel like it can't, but you've never asked it of this before. It can do the work. So soak it into the heart. Take your time. You might want to go back to the list and think, I'm not done yet, and start again. Take as long as you need for this bit. There's no time frame. And again, you can put the video on, the work on pause if you like. Just continue to soak it into the heart and dissolve, imagining it dissolving away. Anything new that comes up as you're doing that, you can add it to the list if you want, or you can just carry on dissolving it, soaking it into the heart. Imagining it, again, you can have your heart on that, your hand on your heart area. Imagining it, all of that. All of the stuckness, the anxiety, the depression, the drama, it's all soaking away into your heart and dissolving away. You don't need it anymore. You can let go now. And if you're done, then that's great. And if you're not, then just pause this just for a moment and take a bit more time as you need it. So we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to reset ourselves. Again, we're going to go back to the heart and solar plexus breathing. So breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus, deeply and always comfortably. Adding in that feeling of care, love, or appreciation for someone or something in your life. Deep, comfortable, even breathing. In through the heart, out through the solar plexus. Those feelings of care, love, or appreciation for someone or something in your life. Breathing in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. Anytime you get distracted, just bring it back to care, love, or appreciation for someone or something in your life. And again, if you feel like you need longer for this resetting piece, then take it. Put this on pause and carry on with your heart and solar plexus breathing for as long as you need. And then we're going to move on. I want you to stay with the heart and solar plexus breathing. Love, care, appreciation for someone or something in your life. And as you stay with that heart and solar plexus breathing, I want you to ask your heart, what advice do you have for me now? What advice do you have for me now? And notice what comes up. It might not be anything. It might be a whisper of something. It might be something loud and stark and obvious. It might be something that's completely unrelated to what you've been working on. That's the power of the heart. It will give you what you need right now. And again, feel free to write down what comes up. It could be a flow of information. It could be one word, and it could be nothing. All of that is okay. Staying with the heart and solar plexus breathing as you do this. Heart, what advice do you have for me now? Again, just pause it if you need to, if you want to carry on writing. And I want to just remind you, we've done some deep work here today, because you could have been carrying around this heaviness. Notice how you feel now. You could have been carrying this around for a long, long time. It might not even have been yours. It could have just been something that you picked up from a parent or a sibling or a relative, or where you just thought that this was your responsibility. You don't need it anymore. And what we've done is this is how I like to describe it, is that we've been working on a boulder, this massive rock that maybe, or piece of stone that was kind of sitting somewhere in your body. Maybe it was in your chest. That's how I like to imagine it. And what we've done is we've kind of tried to dissolve it away, this kind of unuseful, unhelpful piece of rubbish inside you that's not useful anymore. And it's not to be confused with something happy in your life that maybe didn't end up badly. All you're doing is you're releasing yourself from the unuseful part of this. Okay, so you're not going to forget happy memories if that's what you're worried about. So we've worked on dissolving this boulder. We've worked on kind of getting rid of it and removing it from us. But what could have happened is it could have all dissolved away. It could have just all gone now. And maybe you feel lighter. That's certainly how I feel when I do this work. And that's what people tend to report, is they feel lighter. They report they've had the best sleep of their lives sometimes, or in a long time. They've slept like a log. But what can also happen is, if that boulder, for whatever reason, might have left some crumbs, there might be some shrapnel lying around. So if you're still feeling some of the side effects, that you kind of think that, oh gosh, that's still there, it's not necessarily still there. It's just shrapnel. It's just leftovers. It's just crumbs. So if those come up over the next week or so, I just want you to monitor yourself for the next week or so, is if there's anything that comes up and it just pops into your head out of nowhere, that you worked on this and something related to this comes up, you can soak it into the heart again. So if you're doing your heart focused breathing anyway, or you're doing your getting in sync quickly anyway with your renewing feelings, that's okay too. But if this comes up, you can soak it into the heart. So how you were doing before, and it comes up and it's like, oh yeah, notice it and tell yourself, that's a bit of shrapnel. Okay, I'm going to soak it into my heart. And so just notice how you do over the next week or so, and then notice the shrapnel, if there is any. There might not be, and then you can soak it into the heart. And we're going to close off this technique now. This is the closing step. Just give us a bit of closure and to choose something new in our space. So we're going to choose a new attitude instead. We've done some great letting go work today. And we're now just going to do some attitude breathing. I absolutely love this technique. I use it regularly on its own, but this is a great way to close this off as well. So I want you to choose, and again, you can write this down if you want to, what you want to let go of. It could be hate, fear, guilt, responsibility. It could be letting go of the issue. It could be letting go of the person. Whatever that is, what do you choose to let go of? Fear of change. It could be fear of moving from your job. It could be fear of a recurring illness coming back. It could be fear of committing to a relationship. Whatever it might be, big or small, just choose what you want to let go of. And then I want you to choose a new attitude that you'd like instead. And it can be as generic and high level as, I just want to feel compassion. I want to feel kindness. I want to feel love. I want to feel self-love. You cannot go wrong with those. It could be something very specific. It could be, my new attitude is that I have confidence in how I approach everything I do at work. It could be specific. It could be, my new attitude is that I'm going to be myself with my partner, no matter what's going on. So choose something that resonates for you, and then we're going to lock it in. So I'd like you to, if possible, I want you to stand up and just shake off. If you could see me now, you'd see my body's just shaking all over the place. I'm shaking my hands, my feet, just shaking off all of this stuff that we've just done. And it's just moving everything, moving your body and letting it go, like the Taylor Swift song, Shake It Off. If you know it. If you don't, go look it up and you can dance to that song and shake it off that way. So, which I do sometimes. So shake it off. And then I want you to just be open. Be open to this. Go stand somewhere else in the room to where you've been working, if you can do that. So maybe you're in a room and maybe it's got a window. Go stand by the window. Go stand somewhere different to where you were doing this work. Or go sit somewhere different to where you were doing this work. Or maybe lie down somewhere different. And what I want you to do is, again, we're going to breathe in through the heart and out through the solar plexus. And as we breathe in through the heart, we're going to breathe in our new attitude. Let's say it's going to be self-love. And we're going to breathe out the fear through the solar plexus, if that's the fear. We'll use that as an example. So breathing in through the heart, self-love, and breathing out through the solar plexus, the fear. Breathing in the new attitude and breathing out what you're letting go of. And just keep going with that for a few minutes until you notice a shift or until you feel like you're ready to stop. So just take a few moments with that. Breathing in through the heart with your new attitude. And breathing out through your solar plexus, what you're letting go of. Breathing in, self-love, if you want to choose that. In through the heart and breathing out through the solar plexus, any fear. In through the heart with self-love and out through the solar plexus with fear or your chosen area. Again, go for longer if you need to. Put this on pause. It's your work. And I want to remind you again that this has been deep work. Don't underestimate the work you've done today. You might feel really exhausted, which might contribute to your really good sleep tonight. If you're feeling a bit of unrest, remember you can carry on soaking into the heart. You can carry on sinking into your attitude breathing. You can use that attitude breathing every morning, for example, for a couple of minutes before you start your day. You can change your words up for what you want to let go of and your new attitude that you want to bring in whenever you like. So take care of yourself. Notice how you're feeling. Email me. Let me know. I really enjoy hearing how you've done after the cut through work. So let me know how you're doing. And I'm here to support you with any questions. Soak in any shrapnel or anything that comes up from the work you've done today. And schedule in some kindness, whether it's a date with yourself. I often say to people, when I've done this as a group online program, I've invited people to choose what they're going to do with their date at the end of the evening. So after we finished our work, so it might be to go and have a bath, it might be to go and have a read or have dinner with a loved one or go for a walk or go for some exercise, whatever that is for you. It doesn't matter what it is. It's what feels like kindness for you. And carry on soaking in anything that you need to. Now, again, like I said, notice how you are for the rest of the week. You might feel the need to declutter physically as well. Go with it. Go with it. Don't feel like it's overwhelming. If it's just one shelf or one drawer, or one cupboard, go with that. If you feel like you can tackle something bigger and you want to, go with that. But you might find yourself feeling lighter because you now have space. And I want you to use that space consciously. And I want you can do this now, or if you feel really tired after this work, come back to it, but please do come back to it. And I want you to write yourself a permission slip. This comes from Brené Brown. I've used it a few times, and she talks about giving herself permission and writing permission slips for herself. I want you to write yourself a permission slip. What do you need to give yourself permission for? Again, this is in the workbook if you're using the workbook, or you can write it out in your journal. What do you need to give yourself permission for? If you want to, you can email me that permission letter or that permission slip. I'd love to hear them. So the other thing is, I invite you to further let go of that page where you wrote down all your feelings and your emotions and everything that came up relating to this issue. I invite you to let go of it by throwing it away, tearing it out of your journal if you did, or deleting it if you did it on a PDF, or writing somewhere electronically somewhere, and maybe going to burn it somewhere and do a little ritual for yourself. You don't need it anymore. So that can just be a nice way of just letting go of it fully. Not that you won't have let go of it, but it can be nice to just not need that anymore. You don't need that. Some people choose to keep it. I can't stop you. If you would like to keep it, that's fine. But I would question, definitely keep anything you wrote down about the attitude breathing, any heart advice you had. Choose to keep that if you want to. but I invite you to let go of the issue itself and what you wrote about it. So we did some decluttering using this letting go tool. It's called Cut Through. Again, it's by HeartMath, and you can read about it if you want to in the book HeartMath Solution, or Transforming Anxiety as well. I think it's in that book. But you've got the steps that you need here. It's a way of letting go of what's no longer useful for you, especially if you feel heavy, especially if you notice repeated issues coming up again and again and again, and you find yourself getting really emotional about them and reacting emotionally. And by that, I mean whether it's anger or fear, or becoming really teary about it. If it feels big, do the full technique. You've got that list out in your workbook. You can go through these anytime. You can replay this if you want to do the full technique. Or if it feels smaller, you can soak into the heart at any time. Imagining that situation or feeling or person just dissolving away into your heart and saying, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to hold on to this anymore. Okay? So there's 2 ways you can use it. So this week's, just to wrap up then, this week's survival question, there's 2 of them. And again, you can carry on. Maybe you've created your own survival questions. I'd love for you to send those in to me. So what can I let go of? What can I let go of that might be coming up? So ask yourself the question, if you're feeling overwhelmed or full up or low, or there's a heaviness about things, what can I let go of? And then what permission do I need to give myself? This is a brilliant question to ask yourself at the beginning of the week. What do I give myself permission for this week? I'm going to rephrase that question. What do I give myself permission for this week? Or what do I need to give myself permission for right now? Okay? You get to choose. Let me know how you get on. As usual, just a little bit of a review. Notice how you are, if this week especially, because this is beautifully deep work. What might you be wanting to hold on to if there's still shrapnel lying around? How are you noticing this new space that you've created for yourself as a result of doing this work and continuing this work? Do you have a desire to declutter? Do you have a desire to slow down? Maybe you feel a different level of energy now and you want to speed up. Use it and follow it. And remember your new attitude, and just keep revisiting that new attitude. How's it going for you? And you've got the tools. So, carry on with your heart focused breathing. If that's where you want to stay, you get to choose your level. It's a bit like going to like a yoga or an aerobics class or a Pilates class, where they give you different levels and you get to choose them with. And these aren't necessarily harder. They're just layering up to different levels. But you'll notice that there's certain ones that you're more comfortable with. Some people, when they start to experience the heart and solar plexus breathing, they find that easier to do or more useful to do than heart focused breathing, which is just inhaling and exhaling through the heart. Go with what works for you. So long as you're using something and you're using it regularly and you're building the consistency and the rhythm for it to start to make a difference in your life, because that's how it will make a difference in your life. And what's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway today? What do you notice now? Remember to use the letting go tool whenever you feel you need it. I would, if you feel like there's another issue you want to cover, I would give yourself at least a week. Especially if, you might have worked with this, on this with me before, but especially if you're doing this for the first time, give yourself a week to just absorb this work from today. And as always, I'm available on email support. So next week, because this has been quite an intense one, next week we're going to be doing some really, it's another tool on problem solving, where we feel like, how do I start my day? How do I even get through all the things I need to do today? How am I going to have this conversation with someone? How am I going to manage this meeting? How am I going to manage this, the fact that I'm so full up this week? How am I going to even get through this week? So we're going to look at problem solving and how we're going to do that. And I'm just going to bring you back, or me back. Hello. stop the share. Hello, people. So I hope you're feeling a shift from the work today, and I hope that you feel ready to carry on. If at any point any of this gets overwhelming, you know where I am. You can use this work how you want to do it. Always remember to do it your way, but just keep doing it with consistency. That is where I have benefited from this work so much, is doing it on a daily basis, or if not on a daily basis, as often as I can. And that means at least 5 times a week. You get to fit it in how you want to. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes doing a cut through, sometimes, you shouldn't need to do loads of cut throughs like we did today. That's big work. Notice what comes up. Trust yourself and use what you need. Okay? Keep checking in with your goals, and I will see you next time. Amajot over and out. Bye.